Hello, folks, and I'm Dan Hollifield. Welcome to Last Man Standing. This may be a short show because I'm playing solo this evening. Um, it just seems like it's been a rough week for everybody, and not a lot of folks want to stay up, although it's not particularly late at the moment. Uh, Bedtime does look very attractive, even to me, the confirmed night owl. But that's quite all right. I've extended an invitation or two. If anybody takes me up on it, that's fine. We'll continue on. If not, I may just have an early night myself. Now, as for topics, um, really don't know. I fell down a rabbit hole of writing research here lately. I was looking up some background material to go with one of the characters that I've been putting into several stories over the last few years. Just trying to expand the character a little bit more than what I've already done, and found a fascinating topic that I had absolutely no knowledge of whatsoever, and have just been lost down the rabbit hole looking for Alice and hoping she's got a flashlight to help me get out. But um, rather than continue on with that topic, just to explain what it was that I was researching would involve copyrighted material, so I can't do that. But let's just say that it looked like it would be a fun way to retire. But that's neither here nor there. Oh, hello.
Oh,
Hello,
hello.
Michaela. How are you
Hi.
doing?
I am good. I am basically just typing away, trying to get this latest book out that I said would be done by the end of the month, but it's not. Like, if I
That,
get it done by the end of the month, done will be to the editors. And
yes.
if that happens, I am buying myself a damn cake because it has not been a cakewalk. And this is, it's one of those stories that I wanted to take it and run with it this way. And I
Hmm.
thought, this will be fun. All right, yes. And then talking to my critique partner, she's like, listen, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. The reason I said it, though, is because right now there's a big hubbub, apparently, over this author who she took it and made it so that like the first two characters that you get introduced to start to like have this little romance happen, and then like halfway through the book it changes and this character falls for another person and says never mind, so almost like a love triangle.
Ah, yeah.
Right. But she says to the other one, no, I don't like you anymore, I like this person now, halfway through the book. And I guess her fans are just going bonkers. And it's like, well, yeah, but doesn't that add a nice twist to it rather than the whole, she meets him or him meets him or she meets she and they fall in love and voila, the world is wonderful.
Or the standard trope of they can't stand each other, so you know they're going to get married by the final chapter.
Right. Right. So it's like, isn't it nice to come across a book that doesn't follow the same damn patterns that all the other books do?
I love turning tropes on their heads. I really
Ugh.
do.
So
It.
yeah, I'm just like, I really want to pull that trigger and do that, but then again, it's like, all right, I won't.
I tell you what, write it both ways.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I might because I just started a new page, and I may put it over there where only my dedicated people can see it.
No, I mean write it both ways.
Hmm.
Go ahead and do
Yeah.
it the way your critique partner is advising you, and then go ahead and do it the way you want to do it. It means basically
Right.
you're turning out two different books that diverge
Yes.
in the middle.
Yeah.
And go ahead with it, run with it, and
Hmm.
then get it out to some first readers and go, okay, here's the one.
Right. Right.
Here, here's the one that fits all the patterns. Here's the one that breaks the mold. Which do
Hmm.
you like better?
Right. Yeah. We could do that, but
I mean, it
and then
doubles the amount of work you're doing there from this point on to the end of the
not really,
story.
not really, because you can copy and paste a lot of it. I mean, what? Because once the third person gets thrown into the mix, it's really an intertwined story. So that's my thing. Like, it's just the beginning of this book where she meets guy number one, okay, and she and guy number one hit it off really well. Like, they're thinking, hey, could we make this a thing? And there's a couple
Oh,
of scenes in
I,
there where it's very like, oh, they're gonna make it a thing. They're gonna become a couple. And then I switched it, flipped it on its head, and went, oh, no, no, no. But now she has
mhm.
met the second guy. And my critique partner is like, if you do that, you are going to piss off so many people. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to piss off that many people just to
Well,
make them say, this is a horrible book. Read this book. Shit. A banned book gets read.
yeah. Usually selling more copies than one that doesn't get banned.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's got to be a crowd out there that really wants a book to flip the ideas on their head. And
Well, I mean, I play with alternate timeline stuff a
mm-hmm.
lot, and the tiniest detail can turn a story
Oh,
completely
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And there is a way to write it one way and then turn around. Pretty much, the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing is the same book, but somewhere in the middle, that little detail gets
Right.
changed,
Yeah.
and then further on towards the end, there are other details that are changed because of that initial change.
Yes. Yeah.
So you could have it
Yeah.
exactly the way it's recommended to you, and then do it the way you want to do, and it
You
wouldn't
know,
be that much of a swap.
yeah. I was going to say that's a really good idea because then I have the ammunition to say, hey, this went over really well. You know,
Hmm.
I think I'm going to release it. So hey, yeah, it's just one of those moments where like I love my critique partner. She brings out the best in my writing.
Hmm.
But then there's
Yes,
moments where it's like, I really want to do this. Come hell or high water, I want to do this.
and you really don't want to override her
Right, because she
suggestions and
she has
opinion
been in
because
the
she's
industry longer than me, and she does know
yeah,
what she's doing, and it's one of those. As a little kid, you're like, but I want it my way.
yeah. I want it all and I want it now.
Yes, I want my cake, and I want to eat it, and then I want some ice cream. Yeah, so that's the struggle I'm doing right now. I'm writing it the way that the market should like it. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think I'm gonna put out a second copy and at least get it to ARC readers and beta readers and say, hey, what do you
Yeah,
guys think?
yeah,
And get it to the ones that have not read the first copy. Get them the other copy without them having read the other copy. We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see if it works. But yeah, it was supposed to be done by the end of the month. But if I do that, I'll be typing and without sleep for the next week.
That does
Yeah.
not lead for good typing right there.
No,
Sleep
no.
is necessary.
Sometimes.
I hate it, but then again,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite activities too.
Yeah. Well, and that's this week I started out with a head cold. So
Mm.
yeah.
Uh,
There was one day I spent the entire day in bed. I didn't do my morning motivations. I didn't do my website blog, nothing. Like, nope, nope, I'm staying in bed.
hey, sometimes you have to. Your
Sometimes.
health comes first.
Yep,
Get
yep.
well and then get back to the grindstone.
Yeah.
Who am I to give advice?
Hey, there are days where I'm just like, why do I have an advice show? I'm a fraud. That's that imposter syndrome. It never kicked in until I had a YouTube channel.
Mm.
Now I'm like, oh, what am I doing?
Let me step away for a minute and shut the door. The cat came in to
Yeah.
use the litter box, and unfortunately, he's never learned how to shut the damn door when he goes
Door.
out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
funny how they don't do that.
he
Yeah.
can open it real well, but
Yeah.
God help me if he ever grows thumbs.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Nope, I will fill the time. I will fill the time. I have got all kinds of projects going. Feel free to ask me about it, guys, if you are in the chat. Um, But yeah, burning the midnight oil all the time.
Yeah, I went ahead and turned out the air light in the hallway when I
Ah,
closed
so
the
the
door.
wife knows.
Well, she's gone to bed, and she
Ah,
leaves the door open, and the light would shine right in the bedroom. So,
yep.
and I want her to be able to sleep.
Yeah, we figured out when we bought this house that if we're downstairs, because when we bought this house, we had babies, not even toddlers, we had babies.
Hmm.
And I figured out that my husband worked third shift. So during the day, he's sleeping. But downstairs, you can't hear what's going on upstairs. So the bedroom being upstairs is perfect
Yeah.
because he can go in there. And of course, in the summertime, we have to shade the windows and he's got his own air conditioner. So he really cannot hear what's going on. And my youngest was, my aunt turned her into a Joey Logano fan from NASCAR. So we're sitting down watching NASCAR because that's the only thing this little kid wants to watch. And she's sitting on my lap and she's yelling, "Go, Joey, go! Go, Joey, go!" And so pretty soon I get in on it too, and we start hollering and screaming. And down the steps comes my husband. I was like, "Oh, we woke him up." That was the only time we've ever woke him up. Of all the other crazy chaos stuff that goes on in this house with all the kids, that's the only time. I'm like, that of all things. Really?
You're watching NASCAR and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, he doesn't care. I got really lucky or unlucky, however you want to look at it. But my husband is not a sports guy at
Mm.
all. His theory is if you can't die from it, it's not a sport. So NASCAR just squeaks in barely, just barely, but he won't sit there that long. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not waiting around for one of them to die.
yeah,
Hurry up,
yeah. He's
guys.
like, let me know when somebody crashes. I'll be there then. Like, that doesn't happen all the time unless you're at Talladega. And everybody crashes all the time. It's a thing.
It's in the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's, did you bring extra side panels? Because you know it's going to be needed.
You're going to have to kiss that wall eventually.
Yeah, everybody does. Yes.
Oh,
Lord.
and it sounds like I actually know what I'm talking about. I haven't watched any races since uh, Million Dollar Bill from Dawsonville retired.
Mm.
Although I do understand his son is racing now too.
And see, my aunt and uncle can keep you apprised of like who's got how many points and what is all going on. And now they've changed NASCAR, and now it's going to be shorter races with less cars, but they're going to be like almost like basketball. They're going to be stacked like fantasy league.
Yeah,
And they just hate that. They're like, why can't it just be the way it's always been? And that's racing. And back in the day, they used to race cars down on the dirt tracks in Peoria, Illinois. And then they got into demolition derby cars, and that's when I was born. It was during the era of demolition derby cars. So I grew up with demolition derby cars. I met my husband, and we were building a demo car. And my husband and I met when I was still a teenager. And so I was at my dad's because mom and dad were divorced. And I said, don't bother going to mom's house on Sunday to pick me up. I'll be at dad's, stop by there because we're building a demo car. And he says, oh, okay. So he stops by, and we have got this car in the driveway just torn apart. Well, it happened to be a Delta 88. It
oh
was
wow.
it was a 1996, I want to say, 96 or 98, Delta 88. So it wasn't very old. And he's like, oh my God, that's a really nice car. What are you guys doing? I'm like, well, we're making a demo car. And he said, but that's a really nice car. Like, it had the plush interior. It had the power windows that were like brand new back in the day. And we're like, well, we needed a demo car and it needed a brake line. So we figured we'd just use it. That car, honest to God, all it needed was a brake line. And my dad was like, let's use that one. Okay. Looking back on it now, I'm like, wow, that's why we never had any good cars.
Yeah, if you really want to go back to being traditional, you make them run the racetrack with a 150-gallon tank of White Lightning in the trunk.
I remember one year, Dad took because the year before he had the same kind of car, and I believe it was like a 77 Nova that he used.
Oh wow, I
So
remember those.
he had two of them. So of course both of them ended up demo cars. But the first one, when he put it in the year before, it the transmissions lines heated up too much, overheated. So then this year he took the same car and he's like, well, I probably had the same problem with it. So he took the tranny lines out, put them in a cooler, put ice in the cooler, so that while he was using it as a demo car, the tranny lines wouldn't get hot.
Yeah.
Well, what goes in a cooler with ice and tranny lines? Beer.
Hmm.
Yeah. He waited till the officials came by and checked everything out, and then he stuffed the beer in the cooler.
Well, if those lines are overheating, that's going to be some warm beer by the end
I
of the,
know. I'm like, what the hell, dude?
and
You're
it's
gonna
going
have
to get
water
shook
and
up
beer
too.
cans. Yeah.
It's going to get
Yeah.
shook up too. Well,
Yeah.
if you win, you just open up the cooler and start spraying people with
Yeah.
the agitated beer that is warm.
Well, that's growing up the way I did. We always had some sort of car problem going on, so I had to learn to work on cars myself, right?
Mhm. I
So
understand completely.
we're at the demolition derby the one year, and I'm in the stands with the fans, and my mom and some cousins and everything, and my dad's car is done. Like it's up on the pole, he's done. He climbs out of the car, and of course, mom's like, "Hey, what happened?" My dad does this drive shaft.
Oh,
The fucking drive shaft fell out. But as a kid, I knew exactly what that meant.
hmm
Drive shaft. How many other kids know that? I mean, and here I am like, oh, that's drive shaft. That means drive shaft. Like everybody else is like, how did she know that that's what that? Well, because before that car went on the trailer, the drive shaft happened to fall off, and we wired it back on with coat hangers.
yeah, as you do. Make sure you replace those
Yeah,
bearings and everything first, but
yeah. With the demo car, it's just if it works, it works.
it's only got to work for a little while.
Right, right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. Nothing.
It's
Yeah.
not going to be pretty once it's once the race is run.
I always thought it was as I look back on things, it's funny that Dad would get sponsors, and I'm like, dude, you spent your entire life sitting at the bar. How did you get sponsors? But he would go around town to all the businesses in town, and he would get sponsors. He'd get like $100 from the True Value. He'd get $100 from the Legion. It's like, that went to beer money, right, people? He
Hmm.
didn't spend a dime of that on that car. But whatever works, I guess.
Yeah, but the sponsors did get mentioned.
They did. We put them on the car. Yep.
Yeah, that was the point.
Yep. That was our job as kids. Is that we would do like we were the gophers. Go get me this. Go get me that. And we got to paint the cars. So yeah, we learned real quick what a wrench was.
Oh, do you remember those old STP stickers that were like larger than a car hood?
Yes.
You could use one for a throw rug or a comforter on a queen size bed.
Yep. Do you remember the station wagons that had the seat flipped around in the back? So the
Yeah,
back seat. Yeah, we used one of them suckers. That's a big ass car.
yeah. I used to have a Chevy Caprice. It was supposed to have been a station wagon, but they decided they were going to make it into a two-door sedan instead.
Oh,
It was still like 5 acres long,
right.
but took that thing to an SCA event, and I didn't need to take a tent.
Yeah.
I
No,
just shoved
you.
the bucket seats up forward in the front, and I had like a
Oh, hell
more
yeah.
more room than a four-person tent would take up in the back seat there.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck, I remember when my husband and I met. Of course, we were kids. He was 17, I was 15, and we ride the country roads. And he's not a drinker; he never has been. But you have a cooler, right?
Hmm.
And the cooler's in the back of the truck when you go fishing. And he'd have Mountain Dew and water and whatever. Um, and I said something about why do you keep the cooler in the back? And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "The cooler goes in the seat so you can grab one while you're driving." And he's like, uh, "Yeah, you can do that with soda, but the cops kind of frown on it if there's alcohol in it."
Mm-hmm.
And I went, they do? I remember my dad saying in one of these great big cars that we used to ride around in, hey, hand me a beer out of that cooler. The cooler had to stay in the back seat. And I'd go to hand him a beer. And I remember this one time specifically because he says, hang on, wait a minute. And I'm thinking, God, what did I do wrong? He says, the cop's coming. Just hang on a second. So as the cop went past us, then he goes, okay, hand it here. Like, oh my God. So yeah, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, I'm surprised I'm alive.
Yeah, yeah, things have changed a lot over the years.
Yeah, in
Uh,
some places.
yeah, in some places, in almost everywhere, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that were merely naughty back
Yes,
in the day
yes, and
that
now
are
they're
now
felonies.
they are prison offenses.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Uh,
It's crazy how much things have changed. I mean, some of them, yes, for the better, but
yeah.
other things, it's like, really, you don't drink out of a garden hose? What the hell?
Hey, uh, my second wife's dad should never have been allowed to get 52 DUIs
Holy
before he was
cow!
taken off of the road. Well, it went all the way back to when he was a teenager. I mean, this is a lifetime. This is
Well,
not.
and see, that's the thing that kills me. My dad drives. Now, granted, these little towns, a lot of them have one cop. If they have a cop, we don't have one now. But the man drives all over Hell's Half Acre. Always has. How the hell does he not get caught? Because the only thing that I guess you could say is his saving grace is he throws the beer out just before city limits. But he's still drunk. Like, how do they not catch him? They've got to see him like swerving, going too slow. Like, what the hell?
Well, maybe he doesn't when they're looking.
I guess. I've never understood it. I'm like, one of these days he's gonna get caught. Nope,
Yeah.
nope, still driving around. Like, okay.
Oh, it's just him. Let him go.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he only goes 30 miles an hour anyway.
Really, it's not going to do too much damage if he hits anything.
Right, we'll jump out of the way first.
Yes.
Shit.
In more danger is somebody running into the back of him because he's only doing 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I miss dirt roads.
Really? You don't
Almost
have dirt
all,
roads?
almost all the places where I used to drive around in the middle of the night when I was a teenager, me and different selection of my buddies were dirt roads, and now they're all
Yeah.
paved roads.
Huh.
So progress has caught up with Farmville, basically. And,
Nifty. Not out here.
oh, you can't get away with nothing around here anymore.
Well, and I kept wondering. I'm like, why? Well, because the town or the county right next to us that we border, because the town I live in borders a county. So there's always been a bar just outside of town, because it's on the county line. You got to wait for the other county to get here. So, but even with border and a county, there's nothing here. It's almost like we're too far away from the big cities for them to notice on one side, and we're way too far for the big city on the other side to notice. So we really are in the middle of nowhere
Yeah,
because there's nothing like you could draw a circle on the map. And this is what I have to say at a lot of job interviews. They'll say, "Oh, wow, you really drive far for a job. Is the commute going to be a problem? Have you seen the map? Do you know where my town is? Like anywhere you look on that map, you could draw a circle and you still would not find a town no matter what direction you go for at least a half-hour drive."
yeah. There are not any jobs
Yeah, like
available inside an hour from my house.
right. And they say things like they'll say things like well, I'm sure there's a Casey's in your town or a Dollar General. Um yeah, we got Casey's 10 years ago and we just got Dollar General last year.
Hmm.
To top it off, all those jobs are full because yeah, the people that live in the town they want to work there.
Yeah,
Like,
they
you
don't want to
know,
have to drive 100 miles to get to a job.
right. So they jump on those jobs, but yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, no, I really do live in the middle of nowhere. You don't get it.
Yeah, when I was in college, the job that I was working at, the part time job I was working at, I had to drive a good 45 minutes in fair weather
Yeah.
just to get to the job. And
Hmm.
then about lunchtime, I would clock out. And thankfully, I had my class schedule set up to where I didn't have morning classes most
Hmm.
of the quarters that I was in school. My first class was right about lunchtime. So I'd drive another half an hour to get back into town where the college was, go to my classes. There might be two or three within, I might have three classes within 4 hour period and a little
Right.
break in between two of them. And by that time, the place where I was working would be shutting down. Everybody would be clocking out to go home because there wasn't a swing shift there. So I'd just go ahead, finish my classes, go on home. Daddy would have a list of what I needed to do with the tractor and get up, get back on the farming and everything. So I'd be out until way after dark, um, either plowing a field or uh, spraying for bugs or
Hmm.
plowing up weeds or you know might be
Yeah.
mowing hay or
Whatever
raking it
needed
up.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
whatever needed done. And we owned 68 acres and rented enough to where we were farming 400 acres.
Yeah. That's the
So
place I hunt. It's
I
owned by
had to go.
one guy, but it's rented by another guy.
Well, we'd have 5 acres here and 10 acres here and 20
Hmm.
acres there. It was scattered all over like three counties. And
Yeah.
here I am on a 20-mile-an-hour tractor. So
Going from one to the other.
it'd take me a while to get there, but I learned all the back roads around the house.
Oh, heck yeah.
And my wife is going, how do you know these shortcuts to get from here to there? And I'm going, honey, if I wasn't on
Yeah.
my bicycle when I learned it, I was on the tractor.
Yeah. Well, it was funny when our kids started driving. Well, when our daughter started driving, because our oldest one is a boy, and apparently he's a stingy bastard too. Because when he was a teenager, gas prices weren't nearly as expensive as they are now,
Hmm.
and we thought, okay, he's got his license, he's going to just go. No, no, that's expensive. Driving around and wasting gas is stupid. I'm like, well, we all did it, so I don't really know what to tell you, kid. There's nothing else to do out here. Well,
Hmm.
he fell in love with video games. So for him, it made more sense to stay home and not go driving. And so we thought, okay, well, maybe the next kid will be that way. Maybe that's just the generation. No, no, every chance she gets, she's like, "Hey, can I take your car?" And if she takes our car, it's you got to put gas in it. You know. And the only reason she takes our car is because if she takes more than just her immediate best friend, if she takes her friend and her sister, she has to take our car because there's not she has an S10 truck. Like, yeah, yeah, take the other one so that your sister has a seatbelt.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. But she's completely like polar opposite of her brother. Like she'll go, "Hey, can we just go driving around? If you fill the tank, sure." They went
Yeah.
out tonight, and I said, "Gas is expensive," and they're like, "Yeah, it's okay." Okay, must be nice to live rent free.
It's not like we can afford drugs.
Right. Yes, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
and that's the thing. Like they're really good kids, but it's like you could save your money instead of going out driving around. Like heck, right now it's what? It's 10:30 here. They're
Hmm.
out on my back deck putting a puzzle together. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, we want to be outside. Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's like 50 degrees out. It's chilly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, back when I was in college, gas was 50 cents a gallon.
I remember my uncle filling his Ford F-250 where it had the dual tanks. There was a gas war going on, and we were in line for gas. And by the time he got to the gas pump, it was 27 cents a gallon. I'm like, can we have that back? Can somebody bring that back?
I remember when I was a kid up in East Tennessee, we went to uh, a Magnolia station of all things, and the gas price had just jumped up from 12 to 13 cents a gallon.
Oh no.
and my dad was fussing and just raising Cain. I don't know how I can afford to drive to work if the price of gas keeps going up. We're just going to have to sit at home. And I'm going,
Yeah.
looking back on that, I'm going,
Yeah.
times never change, or the
Yeah.
the sentiment never changes, although the
Right.
prices do.
Right. Well, as
It-
I
it-
just saw a friend today say something about she lives in Texas. I don't know what part of Texas, but she was saying that she makes a good living, except that where she lives, the cost of living is so high, it doesn't make a difference.
yeah,
And so she was talking about they're going to move out of Texas. They're hoping to move to Montana, because she can't even afford. I guess she has horses, and she can't afford to have them on her property because she rents. Well, the rents are so high, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, okay, but it's that way everywhere. It's do you rent? Do you buy?
hmm
Depending on your lifestyle. So yeah, that's with my daughter moving. Even it's like, okay, I get that the rents are cheaper, but I bet you the wages are cheaper as well.
yeah,
I bet you the wages are less because here they're making at working at a Dairy Queen. I think they're making 13, 12 or 13, something like that.
hmm
I haven't paid attention lately, but this guy is very generous as well. So is he higher than most Dairy Queens in the area? I don't know. Is it going to be like that when they go down there? I don't know. Because Dairy
no,
Queens are not they're a franchise.
yeah,
So you can buy one store, you can buy 5 stores. So it's not like Dairy Queen is a place where she can say, well, let me transfer places, and they'll
yeah.
just transfer her. So yeah.
It's not what is it's not monolithic. It's not the
Yeah.
same from one store to another.
Right. Well, and honestly, it shouldn't be with cost of living. I worked I worked at a Walmart when I was a teenager, and this from where I was in the middle of the state, and this person came from northern Illinois, not Chicago, but northern Illinois, and it wasn't that far from us, maybe a 3 hour drive.
Yeah,
And she hires on at our store, and she said something about the wages, because cost of living down here is so much. They didn't change her wages. Let's say she was making 7 and we were all making $9 an hour, but up where she lived, that was fine because cost of living was less.
yeah,
But down here, cost of living is more, and she's like, and they didn't change my wages. That's not fair. I'm going to have to get a different job. Like, well, then go get a different job.
yeah.
But yeah, that was something that it caught me strange because it's like if you're going to transfer your employee to a higher cost of living area and your other employees are already making more money, why wouldn't you bump them up just because of cost of living?
Because that makes more profits for the people that actually
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, because that's not cheaper.
hmm Uh, Working for a multi-billion-dollar
Dollar
multinational.
company.
Yeah, I've run into things like that all the time,
Uh-huh. That's
and
why I loved it when I started working for the landscape company because it's a small company. It's
yeah,
owned and ran by one guy. And it's like, oh, that's so nice. But then there's times where it's like, it's so not nice because he likes to micromanage, and it's one of those moments where you're like, will you just go back in the office and do something with paperwork or something? Just go. I don't
really,
want to talk to you anymore today.
go surf the internet. I've got work to do.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Uh,
I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore.
mm,
Now, if only my books would sell.
Tell me
But
about it.
I did read a book just recently. 7-figure fiction is what it's called. 7-figure fiction. And she goes through basically, as you read this, you'll have light bulb moments where you're like, oh, that's right. Oh my God, that makes sense. Holy crap, why didn't I see that? The whole time I was reading it, I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. I am a complete idiot. Holy crap. So yeah, it's a worthwhile book for sure.
It's gotten to the point now to where I have my name on blurbs for somebody else's book more often than I have on the cover of my own books. Oh no, I had one come out here just recently. A lady that I know that used to be a short story editor for my magazine. She
Oh.
she put out a book of her poetry,
Mm.
and she sent me an ARC and asked me for a blurb.
Yeah.
And I read the blurb that's on the back of the book, and I'm going, damn, why can't I
Mhm.
write that poetically on my own stuff?
Well, and that was part of this book I read. It was basically clean up your blurbs. Well, for what I need to do, I need to clean up the blurbs, make them better. They're not horrible, but I can make them better. And then my marketing and some of the teasers that I've put out, I can tweak them a little bit and make them even better.
Yeah,
So now I've got like this fire. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go get them. So we'll see. We'll see if it works. I'll be excited if it does, because if it does, then I can share with what I did with everybody. But right now, it's very like almost like just an idea. It's not. I haven't implemented anything yet, so I
yeah.
can't say okay, X, Y, and Z is what I did, and this is how much it worked or how much it didn't work. So until I've got something concrete that I can say, hey guys, try this, I haven't really said anything yet.
Mm, um, what's been an impediment to me here in the last 6 months? It's very, very difficult to have a time where something is not going wrong in the real world that keeps me from being able to concentrate at the word processor.
Yeah,
I mean, I can open it up, I can sit there, I can type a couple of words, but my mind is not.
right, right,
I'm
and
not.
that's
I'm not
me.
in the groove.
If I'm not in the groove, I can't write. Like I can stare
Yeah,
at it all day. I'm not gonna write.
yeah,
So
uh,
that doesn't help anything. And the fact that I gave up my day job for this, it's like the pressure's on. It's now or never. And then of course that adds a whole new ball
mm,
game to it. You're like, oh shit, pressure's on. Okay, now I really can't write. And then my husband comes home from work and he's like, what have you been doing all day? I'm like, staring at a computer screen. Like, that's all I got, bud. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But
kind of
no, lately the words have been flowing, so I've been okay there. But yeah,
well. If I could just get the world to straighten up for two
oh
weeks, I
yeah,
could finish this damn book.
that's what I keep saying. And then I've got this trip that I'm taking my girls on, so that takes a week out of my book writing because
Hmm.
I've tried it before. I've tried to take my laptop with me when we go on our girls trip, and yeah, it doesn't happen. Like I always intend to like after the girls go to bed, I'll stay up for an hour or two and I'll write. No, no, I won't. It just never happens.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, I'm not even taking my laptop. I'll take my notebook so that if an idea pops up, I can write it down, but no, not even worth it.
Oh, did you ever have somebody pop up and tell you just had this really creative day and you chop out a couple of paragraphs and post it somewhere for somebody to read so that
Mhm.
you can share the joy that you're feeling about having been so creative during it, and then somebody inevitably pops up and goes, "You're giving too much away."
Oh my God. No, I have not had that happen. And if they did, I'd slap them because you know what? There are 196 pages of my first book on Google Books. Want to go look that up? Go look that up. That was not by my choice. That was something that you can't prevent. It's just there. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're just going to give people 196 pages of my book. Okay. Yeah. Lovely.
Mm,
So, yeah, I don't care anymore. I'm like, whatever. Some people are going to buy my book. Some people are going to steal my book.
Well, I figure if I post a couple of paragraphs on Facebook and people go, I want to read more, when it
Yes.
comes out, maybe they actually will.
Right. See, and that's the whole thing with. I used to think that teasers, pay attention, newbies. I used to think that teasers had to be exact words from your book.
Mm.
No, they don't. No, you can use things like Jack and Jill ran up a hill. Now, that sentence does not have to be in your book.
Exactly.
It's just the fact that you're getting somebody to go, why did they run up the hill? Or why did she feel that way? Or why did he feel that way? Or why did it all go wrong? I want to know. You're just dangling a carrot in front of them like, hey, you might want to read this book, and here's why.
Mm-hmm. Here's an example of what I can turn out when I'm really in the groove.
Yeah.
And when something comes out with my name on it, you might want to check it out, even if this is not in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's, I look up to a few authors, and one of them, she's local to me. And I've always admired her because she's in a level of her career where I would like to be. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. And so I kind of follow her, get some tips and advice, and we're becoming friends. I wouldn't say that we're friends yet, but we're becoming friends. And so she showed me one day, she says, I said something about I got 4,500 words written or something. Now, mind you, I can write 50 words a minute last time we calculated. So I told her, I said, I got 4,500 words done today, but I got to get more done because I got this looming deadline. And she was like, oh my God. And I said, what did I say? And it's via text. So I don't know. What did I say wrong? Come to find out, she writes an average of 200 words a day. Like, here's this author who's making a 6-figure income.
Mm-hmm.
And she's writing 200 words a day. I'm like, do you know how quickly I can write 200 goddamn words? Like, holy shit. And I'm not making a 6-figure income? What the hell? And she'll tell you herself, though. She's like, I got shit lucky. Her book came out at a time when that genre was hot.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And she just hit it. She's like, I just got lucky. So yeah, it's one of those things. I follow for advice, but I'm also like, okay, that was a fluke. I get that. But what else is she doing? What else can I, help? What will help me in my career? What can I take away from that?
I often say from personal experience, when I was writing the first time that I ever actually finished a novel, when I'm really hot, when everything is really flowing, I can write 1,000 words an hour or 500 words per beer.
That's a good calculation.
Well, that's the way it worked out. And there were days when I had a 10-hour writing day.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
500 words per beer, 10 hours.
Well,
Needless to say, there were some typos that needed to be corrected after about the third or fourth hour.
Probably, I can imagine.
But that was the same time the dialogue was flowing so fast that I didn't have time to put attributions in.
Well,
so
and
I wrote a whole chapter with no he said, she said. I had to go back and go, okay, who said this?
Who said it? Yeah. Well, and that's something else I learned over this whole period of time where everybody stayed home. COVID was a thing, or it was a major thing.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was home. That was one thing I learned. If I'm stressed out and I'm thinking, oh, I have to get 500 words down, I have to get 1,000 words down, I will not write words.
No, stress
it'll end up. What are words? What are words? But if I just think to myself the story that I want to write, how I want that story to go, and just write it. Don't worry about, is this too much dialogue? Is this not enough dialogue? Is this too much description? Don't worry about it. Just write it, because you and your critique partner and you and your editor, can nix all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking, because my critique partner is very, very good about just writing what needs written. And so when we go to edit her books or critique her books, there isn't much we have to edit. Like, this woman can put down a book, but it takes her longer because she's not putting in the fluff. She thinks about every sentence that she puts down. Where I'm just like, let's put it all on the page. And then we'll go back later and we'll fix it.
I'm much more cinematic. I have a scene in my head. I describe the scene. The characters tell me what they're saying. They tell me what they're doing.
Right.
I take dictation, and then end of scene, I have to figure out what's the next scene.
Yeah, I'm stuck right now on okay, I know where I want to go. But I've got to a part where I'm like, this is boring. I don't like it. So I've just put, one of my tricks is I'll put the words more here. I know that there needs to be something here. I know that I need to get from point A to point B, but I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to skip to C.
Yes.
I'm going to fill all that out, and then I'll come back and I'll fill it out wherever it needs some fluff, wherever it needs some detail. Or it might not need some detail. Hey, Mike Jimmy is here.
Yes.
What's up? Oops. But yes, so that's what I'll do is I'll go back later and I'll say, okay, I can add something, I can take something out. But what works best for me is just basically, they call it word diarrhea. Put it all on the page. Somewhere in there, and it doesn't really take as long as you would think when I do that, because my books end up being right around 80,000 words. So those are big books anyway. If I can get those books to read fast and my readers don't notice that it's a big book or a lot of words or it's going to take them a while, then great.
Yeah.
Coffee. Not yet, dang it.
Not for another 6 hours and 12 minutes, no.
I was going to say, what time do you have to go to work?
The alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. Here it is now 11:48.
You are a glutton for punishment.
Oh, no. For years and years and years, it's been, if I can get myself sleepy before 1:30 in the morning, I'm doing really good.
Wow.
Because what happens is I get home from work about 4 in the afternoon, 4:30. No. I will be sitting here checking my email, open up Facebook and look and see whose birthday it is, scroll down and see if there's anybody's post I need to react to, love heart this, because this is this person and I want them to know that I did see their post. And next thing I know, it's an hour, maybe hour and a half later, and I'm waking up in the chair.
Wow. Yeah, that sucks.
It really does, because I have no idea that I'm even sleepy until I woke up. I am. My mind is, 90 miles.
Yeah, I'm doing my thing, and
yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like blink. Ooh.
Yeah, how did that happen? Yeah.
Lost time. Did I get kidnapped by aliens again? Yeah. They didn't even leave me any hints as to what to write next time.
But yes, Mike Jimmy, you are correct. Get the words out first. Worry about the quality later. That's why we have critique partners. That's why we have editors. That's why we have beta readers. Because somewhere along the line, they're all supposed to catch the crap.
Yeah. I try and catch as much of the crap as I can before I turn it over to anybody else.
Well, and I
know that I'm only going to get 85%.
Yeah. Well,
because I know what it's supposed to say.
Yes, you know what it's supposed to say. Now, I have some authors that will even do the, like Microsoft Word has a feature that will read it back to you. So you can hear it. And if it doesn't sound right, you can go back and fix something. Yep. So I've got a few of them that will do that before they'll send it to an editor because they want to hear it. And I thought, well, that's a good idea. And then when I'm editing something, before I send it back, I will go through it backwards because then I'm not reading it.
Yeah.
I'm going line by line and I'm looking for copy edit stuff. I'm not looking for flow. I'm not looking for developmental. I'm simply looking to make sure that I crossed my T's and dotted my I's. Yep. It's a process.
Yeah, I will find myself, especially when I am able to work more than one day in a row during a week.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will wind up going back about 2, 3 pages and do a what I call an editing scan, and I will go through. I mean, sure, Word will tell me where I've got something misspelled, where I've misplaced a comma,
Mm-hmm.
semicolon instead of a comma, that sort of thing. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking
Right.
for the way it flows and whether or not that the character voices sound correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go through and I'll get those pages the way I want them. And by the time I get to the end of it, then the next bit probably has come to my mind, and I can go ahead
Yeah.
and get started with the blank page basically that I'm
Yeah. And that's, I was telling you, I'm stuck on a spot. I think if I go back and I read it, and that's what I do, I go back and I read and I edit as I go. I don't do a heavy edit. I'm just looking for little tidbits that stand out. And I'll get back into the story in my mind. I'm back into
yeah.
the story, and I can go, okay, this is what happens next.
Yeah, that's the real reason for going back
Mm-hmm.
and coming approaching
Yeah, yeah, because
the
you have to.
landing point that you left on to take off again.
Yeah, because for me, I can't look at the last sentence and go, okay, that's where I was, and that was the feelings that I had, and this is what I want my characters to do, or this is what my characters were doing. Is most of the time,
Mhm.
I just write up the incident report.
Oh, there's an old writer's trick. I mean, old like from the pulp days. There's this one guy, really prolific writer. When he had to stop, I
Mhm.
mean, had to stop, he would stop in the middle of a sentence, sometimes in the middle of a word.
Ah, yes, uh huh,
So when he goes back and he reads that, his brain is going to kick into gear and go, this is the ending of that sentence.
yes.
And for
Mhm.
him, it would go ahead and kick it back into the story.
Yeah,
I
my
have to go
daughters
back
like to
and go
say,
a little bit
my
further.
yeah, that's what I have to do. I have to go back and look at it. But my daughters like to say that I like cliffhangers. And I'm like, well, no, I just don't like a boring story.
Hmm.
So I won't end it on something boring. If it's boring, you're not going to find it in my book. Well, hopefully not. But yeah, that's it. It isn't that I'm intentionally leaving cliffhangers or trying to um, make the reader think it's a cliffhanger. It just happens.
Yeah, yep. And since I think from scene to scene rather than, I don't know how to describe any other way to do it, but since I finally started writing my great novel again, I'm starting to notice how quickly I jump from
Mm-hmm.
scene to scene. Yep, yep. And that happens. That happens. Um, I'm trying to I'm trying to train myself to go ahead and put chapter breaks at the end of a scene rather than just some
Hmm.
little string of symbols that go, okay, now this is a scene shift, but it's still the same chapter. No, that don't work. That don't work.
Yeah.
The scene, the scene is the chapter. Is
Well, yeah,
that's the way it is in my head.
yeah.
It may not be anything like that for anybody else, and especially for really really short things. You might have 2 or 3 scenes, but the whole piece is only 2,000 words long.
Mhm.
So there's no reason to put chapters in something that short.
Oh, graphic novel. That's what he
Mm.
meant by
Oh,
GN.
graphic novel. Okay. Well, hopefully it's a great graphic novel, Jimmy.
Yeah, hopefully. We're all striving for, I think.
Really.
Maybe.
Uh, Let me step away to the fridge again.
Yep.
It's
I love
only
that you
3
had that
seconds.
little mini fridge. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's right over there. I don't even have to leave the room.
I just have an empty cup.
Well,
Hmm.
when you can train the dog to go get you a
There you
fresh
go. I'll just train the dog. Maybe I
Hey,
can train the teenagers.
training the dog would be easier.
Probably.
I've raised teenagers, I know.
Mike, is that a lot for a graphic novel? Is that a 160 pages? Is that a lot, or is that not many?
Oh, this should be my last one for the night, really.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I'm the one I'm trying to convince.
Oh, are you? Okay. I was gonna say
Really.
I'm not convinced.
Uh, yep.
I told my husband if my writing stuff doesn't pick up, I'll just start an OnlyFans thing. Yeah, I know. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, no! Oh my God!"
I'm not saying, oh my God, no. I'm thinking, how can I keep my wife from finding out I got a membership?
Holy cow! I can't believe our friend Keisha says she's got one. I was like, really? And she's like, no, 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 I only got one because my friend had one and she needed friends on there. Like, oh, okay, what the heck is OnlyFans? So I went and looked it up. I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, with the emphasis on look at that.
Yeah. What kills me is there's people on there with like cooking channels.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay. I can't cook worth a shit, but okay.
Hey, I have recently found out that some people use TikTok for something besides mini porn videos.
Yeah, yeah, apparently. Okay,
Un-
Jimmy. Okay. I was thinking
Unfortunately,
that. I was thinking it was pretty big for a graphic
yeah,
novel.
that's more like a graphic series right there. You got
Yeah. Because I asked him, I said, is that a big graphic novel or is that average? I don't know.
well, it's like 3 volumes of a
Wow.
graphic novel. Yeah.
Well, you just Mike Jimmy's an overachiever, apparently. I can't even get
Hey,
one novel out and he's getting like three out. What the hell?
hey, the story wants what the story wants.
Yes. Well, that's the thing when people ask me how big my books are. I'm like, it depends on the story.
About 6 by 9. Uh,
Yeah, like, and generally they run well. The first one, let's put it this way: the first one, when I first sent it to the publisher, was 110,000 words or 111,000 words. We narrowed that sucker down because the publisher wanted it narrowed down to under 80,000. So it's probably 75, 80,000 words. And then the next one was like 75,000. After we got it all narrowed down and edited.
okay. Yeah. Um, there's a pro writer that I know from the convention circuit. His outlines run 300,000 words.
Yeah.
That's what he sends off to his co-writers as world
Well,
building for them to
I
come
was
in and
gonna say with co-writers and world building, I can see 300,000 because there's a lot of detail they need to know that they don't have a clue unless you fill them in, you know.
Mhm.
So I could
Well,
see that there.
a lot of them just look at him and go, "Why don't you just publish the damn outline? Nobody needs the story to go with it." It's
There you go. Yeah, just published outline.
really
Well, I was working with another author, and she says, "Well, I don't know where to go, but I want the story to go here. I just don't know how to get there." And I said, "Well, write that first.
hmm
You know where you want it to go, so write that first. Write it like a chapter heading. In this chapter, I want this to happen, and do that with all of your chapters." And she says, "Well, I don't know how many chapters I have." I said, "Well, then write it backwards. Write however it is that works for you. Like nobody said you got to write the book forwards."
Oh, really?
Because
Uh,
Secret, my first one that came out, Secret was honest to God done. First, I wrote it by hand because I didn't have a typewriter. Then I got an electric typewriter, and we could only afford so many of the ribbon tape things that went in it.
hmm
So whenever I had one, I would go in and I would type the pages up. Okay, so then I had the stack of pages that was typed up, and I had my notebook that had more in it. So then I would type some more up. Well, then I would change something, and I have to go back and change pages 5 through 10 or whatever. And so then I take 5 through 10 out, and then I put 5 through 10 back in, but they were different pages. And so then I had to add them all together. So by the time this was like a jigsaw puzzle by the time it was done.
Yep.
When I got my actual first computer, I think I spent a month just taking it from the book to the computer, book to the computer. That's why my first book is always in air quotes, because it wasn't really a book. It was like the stack of papers.
Yep. I know that feeling really well. the first one I ever attempted to write, the outline was in the little spiral flip notebooks.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Every full page of the spiral flip notebooks, when I started typing it up, turned into 4 typed single space pages. When I actually got a word processor and started going at it again, each single space typed page turned into 4 extra pages. So by the time I
Oh,
actually got
yeah.
to the end of what I had outlined, it was already 16 times longer than what it was before,
Mm-hmm.
and that much more detail added into it.
Yeah.
And I still never got beyond chapter 15 out of 35. So I'm going to have to step away. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm
This
just
is
reading Mike's comments.
yep.
I ever wrote. Oh yeah, just put me on full screen. That's awesome. I'm sitting here in my big old camouflage jammy shirt thing. Mike, Jimmy, I'm just reading your comments over here. I can't pull them up on the screen because I don't have that access, but I'm reading your comments. So what do you do for work? If you said you're headed to work at 6:30, do you work just comic book stuff? What do you do? Da, 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 da. Dan's left me all by myself. What kind of trouble can I get into? Look, I get my own very own live feed. Should probably start singing all by myself. Ah, that's cool. I wasn't a mover, but I worked for a repo company that repoed furniture. That was interesting. Try going into somebody's house and saying, hey, I need your refrigerator. I know you've got kids, but you didn't make your payment. That was not a fun job. Yeah, I hear you, Mike, Jimmy. Yeah, pays the bills and artists, so it's all right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I'm looking at right now, is trying to pay the bills and do the author thing and make it all work together.
Yep.
Make it all work.
That's going to be one place where I have an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Yep, because I will have 45 years worth of retirement money
Yeah.
built. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to worry unless civilization collapses, and then I won't be
Right.
able
And
to
then
sell
we're all
any.
up a poop river without a paddle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That
But I do a lot of reading about entrepreneurs and successful business people. And one of the things I've always heard is a millionaire didn't get to be a millionaire with one stream of income. They always have more than one stream of income, always. And it's not just like one or two. Usually millionaires have 4 or 5 streams of income. And that's how they got where they are, because they know that one is every business has ebb and flow.
yes.
So when one is ebbing, the other one might be flowing, and vice versa. So they always have a couple different streams of income so that they always know that their bills are paid. And not
Yeah.
only are their bills paid, their savings accounts are paid. And then when they get to where they are, they're sure as hell not going to give up what they have. So they just add another stream of income because they can, and they just build on all of it.
Yep. Want to be rid of it by 2025. If plans in motion and cons restarting, might be able to actually get there. Hey,
Yeah. And that's the thing. We're all striving for that.
yeah. Yep. I'm hoping the stock market picks back up because my
Oh
401k
my
has been
God, yes.
taking a hit here since Russia decided to be idiots.
Yeah.
Well, not Russia, but one
Right.
particular
The whole
Russia.
damn world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard of do you use any apps on your phone? Do you have a smartphone?
I have a smartphone. I don't use very many apps on it at all. Basically, it's a phone. It sends text to my wife and back, and my supervisors and back,
Okay.
and it
Well, the
wakes
reason
me
I
up in the
ask,
middle of the night to tell me that there's some severe weather in some state
yes. Oh, I know.
1,000 miles away that is not going to affect
Yeah.
me whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a tornado 2 states away. Thank you. That's great. I didn't need to be up at 3 in the morning.
Hmm.
Um, but the reason I ask is we just found an app. Well, I've heard of it for a long time, and I just kind of, it's an app, whatever. I don't do a lot of that either. But a friend of mine sent it to me, and she was like, "Hey, this really does work. This really is a thing." I'm like, okay. It's called Get Upside. And I thought, okay, well, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to give you money off gas, like 25 cents off a gallon. And you think, wow, these days you could really use that.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, how the hell is it supposed to do that? How does it logistically work that way? Well, basically, what it is they have these offers, and like let's say Casey's gas is 4.49. Okay. Well, with this offer, you can get the gas at 4.29. Well, okay, that's a deal per gallon. Per gallon, we're talking. So then what you have to do is go get your gas. You have to claim the offer. Then you have to go get your gas and take a picture of the receipt. The receipt has to have the date and time and that you used a debit or credit card. I don't know why that matters, but you have to use a debit or credit card. And so you take a picture of the receipt and it will give you money back. I'm like, what? So I've tested it. It works. It honest to God works. And I'm like, for as much as I travel to these cons and stuff,
Oh
that'll be
yeah.
a game changer.
Yeah. We got an offer here the other day through the grocery store loyalty card.
Mm-hmm.
If I if I use the store credit card that we have to buy my
Mm-hmm.
gas, I'll get an extra 25 cents a gallon off over and above the uh,
Okay. Yeah.
the discount I get for every $100 that I spend in the store. Um, so
Yeah. Yeah.
say I buy $200 worth of groceries during the month, fill up my gas tank, pay for it with the store's credit card. That'll be almost 50 cents off, or 45 cents off a
Right.
gallon
Right. Well, and then
instead of
there's
20.
always like if you refer a friend, you get an extra 25 cents off a gallon for one fill up or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Jimmy, I agree. I've heard that over there the gas prices is insane. Like for us, 4.49 is crazy because of like we were talking earlier where we live. When I worked the landscape job, it was 33 miles away, so that's 66 miles a day round trip. Um, times that by 5, sometimes 6 times a week. That's a lot. But not only that, because of where we live, if you go out to dinner, if you go to get groceries, it's the same thing. It's 30
Hmm.
miles to go to dinner, to go to get groceries, and 30 miles back. So out here, we
It
use
builds
gas
up.
a lot, a lot. And then
It
when I go to
builds
the
up.
cons, I mean, shoot, 200, 300 miles easy.
One of the things that has saved us money is the the click lists there at the different grocery stores.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lindsay will stay home. She'll go through coupons. She'll
Hmm.
make an order, and I can stop on my way home from work and not have to make a special trip from the house to the store.
Yes, and we've done that too.
I'm only 5 to 10 minutes away from the two different grocery stores that we shop at in town. So I can leave work, go 5 minutes to one store, pick up the shopping, or
Yeah,
drive 10 minutes to the next store if it's something different we can't get at the first one. Pick up the
right.
shopping and not have to drive all the way home and then drive
All the
all the
way
way.
back. Yep. That's I
Yeah.
was just looking, Mike Jimmy. I'm looking on this app and it'll tell you the gas prices. Um, so Circle K is 25 miles from me, and the deal is $4.27 per gallon, and that's 12 cents off with this app. So it's what, 4.30, 30. It's 4.39 at that Circle K.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cheapest in this area. But again, it's 20 miles from my house.
Really?
Yeah. So like, that's not even worth it. Like, why wouldn't I
Really?
just go uptown?
You're going to be losing twice what you save per gallon just by going to the
Right.
to the gas station.
Right. But because I've already used the coupon or the offer for our Casey's here in town, it's not showing me that one. That one's already used.
Mm.
But shit, if I'm out and about getting groceries, and I'll just hit it on there. Okay, where's the closest one here? My daughter's got the app now too. She just downloaded it tonight.
Well, I got really, really lucky. My commute to and from work
Wow.
is less than 20 minutes. Depending on the traffic, it might be 15 minutes home and 17 minutes to work.
Yeah.
I use two different routes because the
Right.
traffic coming home on the route that I take in the morning is atrocious. But in the
Yeah.
morning, at the time of morning I drive in, it's not bad.
Right. Well, and we had bridge work going on in Peoria. Peoria has 3 bridges. Pekin has 1. So in the metro area of where I worked, there were 4 bridges. 2 of them were down at one time
Mm-hmm.
at rush hour. I was dumb enough to park my truck at 4:30 and think, okay, wow, I'm getting off early today. This will be fun. And 4:30 was about the time I would get off usually. Sometimes I'd have to work later. So I thought, oh, 4:30, that's a good time to head home. Didn't think anything of it. Headed to that bridge so that I could go home. Couldn't get on that bridge. Standstill traffic because stuff was merging into one lane.
Mm-hmm.
So then I thought, well, I'll run down to the other bridge. I'll get there faster anyway. No, I had to go 15 miles out of my way to get home quicker than I could have when they shut down 2 bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you shut down 2 bridges at rush hour in a major metropolitan area like that?
Because we can.
Yes, because we can. Yeah, and they're still working on those darn bridges.
Yep. Now, luckily, my van, when we first got it, it was getting like 40 miles to the gallon.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's still getting about like 35, and it's over 10 years old now.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Getting on up there. But if I just drive back and forth to work and stop at the grocery stores that are already on my way home, I can go 4 weeks on 1 tank of gas.
Yeah.
But we make a special shopping trip someplace else. That's a whole day that gets cut off.
Yeah. Well, we have Chevys. We didn't plan it, but that's what we have. We have Chevys. So my husband has a Silverado truck, a 2500. So it's a big truck, 3/4 ton. So it gets maybe 12 miles to the gallon if we're lucky.
Yeah, that's what that's what the dump truck we had on the farm got.
Right. And it doesn't help that it sounds good when you put your foot in the gas, so I don't drive it much because gas prices are expensive. So we have that one. We have the Impala, which is a decent car, just a 4-door sedan sort of thing, that we bought off of his mom when she stopped driving. And then we have my car, and my car is a Chevy Traverse, so it gets like 22. It's decent. It's not horrible, but it's not great either. He took the Impala all this week to work, and he said something about the kids taking it tonight to go out cruising. And I said, well, you better fill it up because, your dad takes that to work. And he goes, nah, tomorrow I'm taking the truck. Like, why? And he's like, well, it's Friday. It's going to be nice out.
I want to burn up 2 or 3 extra days of gasoline.
Yeah, he wants to hear the pipes. Like, well, you could do that, but take the Harley. It takes less gas and you still hear the pipes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. We haven't taken
Which,
the Harley out in a while. Damn it.
um, sometimes I wish that Lindsay was not so dead set against me staying alive so I could still ride my motorcycle.
Well, that's people get on us all the time because here in Illinois we don't have a helmet law. Like
Mm.
there just isn't one. It doesn't say you got to be above 18. There isn't one. And so people will say, well, why don't you wear helmets? I said, well, here's my thing. If I died doing what I love, then my life was amazing. If I'm a vegetable in a bed and my children have to take care of me, that's not amazing, and that's not what I want for my kids. And they're like, well, you're not thinking of your kids because your kids would be sad that you're gone. I'm like, yes, but they would also know that I went out doing what I love. So there's the caveat. You know,
My way of thinking about it is if I wear my helmet, chances are they can identify my body.
yeah, I got enough tattoos. They'll figure it out.
Well, they sure can't use dental records on me anymore.
Well, and another one I've seen, a motorcyclist ran into the back of a semi while it was moving. His helmet stuck in the back of the semi and he choked to death. I'm like, can you imagine? Like, holy cow, here's this guy just stuck into a semi. They've got pictures and video of it. He's just, it's gross.
I've heard of eating a bumper before, but that's
Right, right, but that's literal. Like, don't eat the bumper, guys.
yeah, really.
Jeez. Yeah, that's some of these guys on the crotch rockets, as they're called. It's like, guys, come on.
Oh yeah.
You're giving us all a bad name. All we're trying to do is have a good time, but shit, now everybody's on their phones and stuff. We had a buddy give up his bike because of it. 2 of them, actually. They have kids, and they're like, nope, it's not even worth it. They're like, you can be out cruising down the road, and somebody will just pull right out in front of you. They didn't see you because they're on their phones all the time.
Yeah, they're not paying attention. They wouldn't even see a car. They wouldn't even see a semi.
Right. And some of them don't. And we had one just happen out here on the country roads. You know, like, how did you not see a semi? Well,
Yeah,
he's not paying attention.
well, that's the point. Lindsay's not afraid of my driving. She's afraid of everybody else's.
Yes, yes. And when Andy leaves the house, if he leaves on the bike without me, I always say, watch out for stupid people. Because it's not necessarily his driving, it's everyone else that you have to watch out for.
I think that's why I've been generally a much safer driver on 4 wheels, is because I spent so much time on 2 wheels. And I've started looking out for every idiot that could possibly be on the road. There's been several times when people have thought I was just being absolutely spooky. We'd be going to a convention or something, go into Atlanta,
Right.
90 miles away, get on one of these big roads, and I'll be doing, within the speed limit, plus or minus 3 miles an hour, and it'll be 6 or 8 lanes of traffic going one way, and I'll look over and go, you see that guy in the blue Corvette? He's fixing to do something really stupid.
It's like you can pick them out of a crowd every time. Every single damn time.
And then,
Mike's Jimmy
almost
says,
before I can get the words out of my mouth, he cuts the car 6 lanes of traffic with no turn signal and hits the exit doing 70.
Yeah, and then wonders why his car flips over. But yeah, Mike Jimmy was saying that you get a fine if you get seen over there. Yeah, you get fines here too. They just don't care. It's almost like, oh, I get a fine. Okay, where can I pay that? Because they don't care. Like, I've got better things to spend $600 on, and that's the minimum. And then if you're seen on your phone in a construction zone, it's like $3,000 minimum.
Yeah,
and that's just here in Illinois.
By accident.
Yeah, like what the. Yeah,
used
they don't
to
care.
be CB radios. You had to turn off your CB radio when you went to a construction site.
Yep. God, those were fun.
They used
CB radios.
They used radio frequencies to set off the dynamite charges. Now they use cell phones to set off the dynamite charges.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, it just, God, people are stupid is the thing. They're so absorbed in what's happening on their phone, what's happening, on the social media. It's like, you're not going to be social. You're going to be dead. Jesus.
Well, it's not even when you're driving. I mean, at the factory,
Yeah.
uh, back during between Thanksgiving and New Year's, I got put back on swing shift. So here I am at work, 4 in the morning. Everybody is talking on their cell phone, and I'm going, "What idiot is awake at 4 in the morning for you to talk to?"
The idiots they hang out with.
No,
But yeah, I mean, well, when Andy worked second shift, he would get home at like 11:30 midnight, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, so and of course he never worked a regular 8-hour shift. He always worked overtime. So it could have been 2 in the morning when he got home. We would always be up, me and my best friend. She lived next door, and we were always partying. And it wasn't like we were partying, getting drunk or high or anything like that. We were just being stupid, and the music was on, and we were having a good time, like you and I are now. You
mhm.
know, like that was it. That's what we did. And he'd come in and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. You hungry? I'll cook you something." It was just, when you have somebody that works that shift, you're like, well, I should be up that then too. And then when they come home and you sleep when they sleep, you just follow their schedule.
And, and that shows the way things have changed since I started working there.
Yeah.
I mean, cell phones were a brick, basically,
Yeah. And they
with a
sat in your
very, very
truck.
short
Yeah.
range, and they were really, really expensive to use,
Yep.
and only somebody really important had one.
Yes.
So basically, if you're working from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m., your family at home was in bed
Bed, sleeping. Yeah.
waiting on you to come home and get in the bed in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. And
Yep.
if you were going to talk, it was going to be after you woke up that afternoon. It's not going to be all night long. Of course,
Right.
there were people. There was at least one guy. His wife would be calling.
Oh God, there's always one, isn't there? Every factory's got one.
Oh,
Every
oh
hour on the hour, she's got a call. Who are
yeah,
you talking to? What are you doing?
yeah,
Trying to
real
fucking work,
exactly.
trying to bring a paycheck home.
She wanted to make sure he was at work and not off at a club somewhere.
That's a good one, Mike Jimmy. Yeah.
Yep. We've got a lot of people now that their job, and they're all younger people. It's not the
Yeah.
older people, but their job is infinitely harder because they won't shut the phone off and
Hmm.
pay attention to what's going on around them.
Yeah.
Something will go wrong, and it'll turn into a huge mess, and then they look up,
Yeah. Yep.
and
Andy
nobody.
has told Andy has made it to the point where he doesn't have but one person underneath him. So he's a robot welding tech or
Yeah,
almost an engineer. So he doesn't have anybody under him really. He's teaching one guy, but that's it. So when he walks through the shop, the other guys just don't really pay him any attention as far as like, ooh, here comes the boss, he'll get us in trouble. But he used to be line lead. He used to be shift lead. He worked his way up through the company, right? So he's been all of the jobs. He knows what they take to get done. And he'll see these guys out on their phones, and he's like, if you were mine, you'd be fired.
yep.
And they're like, you can't do nothing about it. And he's like, no, but I can tell your boss about it. And then of course they're like, well, you wouldn't narc me out, would you? Are you doing your fucking job? Get to it. That you're being paid to work.
Yeah.
Many other people will take your job if you don't want it.
Thousands of people want
Oh
your
yeah,
job, and
yeah.
maybe five of them would be willing to do it correctly.
Well, and for the money they get paid starting out, heck yeah, I'd take their job. And I don't want a job. I have my author job.
Yeah. Um, I used to say I didn't know why this situation arose, but I know exactly why this situation arose, and it started off back when the TV set became the babysitter.
Yes. And I hate to say that because my oldest, we were trying to figure it out. We're like, how do we have three kids that are polar opposites of each other? And the only thing we can figure out is when our oldest was young, we worked our asses off. My husband and I, it was eat, sleep, work. And our relatives helped us raise that little boy until he
Mhm.
was about 6. And then I got to stay home and be a stay at home mom. And so he would get home from school and he and I would sit down. If I was home, he and I would sit down and do his homework. If I wasn't, it was my aunt or my uncle or my grandma or my mom. Whoever was watching him would do his homework, what little he had, and then he would play on his video games or his TV. What's he like to do today? Video games and TV. That's his comfort zone. That's what he
Yep.
knows.
Yep.
And
Will it?
instead, we should have, made him play outside, go to the park. We just didn't have time to say, okay, we're going fishing today, or we're going on a hike today, because even on the weekends we were working odd jobs. So yeah, in a way, we failed him. My
Well,
other two, they don't care. They'll take the car out driving. They'll talk to people. They're out and about doing stuff. I mean, hell, the my oldest one is talking about moving 2 states away because she wants to. Like, no other reason, she wants to. I'm like, okay, have some fun. All right, yeah,
well, I thought it was a natural progression. I mean, you went from um, one parent being the breadwinner and the other being the housekeeper, and it didn't matter which was which,
right, right,
to both parents having to work in order to keep the house
right.
and keep food on the table, to uh, grandmothers or aunts or uncles being the trusted babysitters that would move in
Yeah,
for the summer while you weren't in school, to being uh, oh well, we'll just let them watch TV, and then you got video games came along that were something more complicated than Pong,
yeah,
just a basic little
yeah,
thing that plugged in the back of the TV. And then cell phones became a thing, and then computers. Well, computers came first, but then cell phones.
right. And then
So
social media.
it
Yep.
just kind of built and built and built and built, and then
Hmm.
somewhere along in that progression, you got the No Child Left Behind participation trophy crowd, where you showed up, you passed,
Yeah.
you didn't have to do anything, just be there.
Oh yeah. We've got one better here in Illinois. We've got one better. In that big town that I work in, Peoria, there is a program where if they are students of the Peoria School District and they go from kindergarten to graduating high school in the Peoria School District, they will pay for their college. But they have to graduate. Like, okay. So what are you going to pay for? Is it 2 years of college? Is it 4 years? Is it a doctorate? I don't know the details because my kids never went there, but
Hmm.
yeah, just trying to keep the kids in school because they
Yeah.
don't want to stay. Like, I wouldn't want to stay either.
Well, we've got all these kids at work now. They're glued to the cell phones. They show up to work, but they don't do any work, and they get outraged if you ask them to do their job.
Oh yeah, yeah. Heaven
Hey, I
forbid.
I clocked in on time. I'm supposed to get paid. I don't have to do
I'll
anything.
never forget when I was looking for a job after my girls were old enough to be in school, because at the time we had them in public school. So my youngest was like, I think she was 4 because she was in preschool. Um, so I'm looking at job things and I'm thinking, how can I up my skills? And so I'm looking for advice on job interviews.
Hmm.
I shit you not, one of these articles said, once you get the job, the first day that you show up, ask for a raise. And when your manager asks why you would ask for a raise, you say, because I showed up on my first day and that shows you I'm dependable. Well, okay, but what about day 2?
Hmm.
What about day 20?
What about actually doing the job you were hired to do?
Right. Like, you ask for a raise your first day, you walk in the door and ask for a raise. Are you kidding me? That was the advice in this advice column. I was like, oh, okay. The
Yeah,
world
well,
has gone to shit.
that tells you that whoever wrote that has never worked a job as labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've always been in some form of management.
Business or finance or something. Because
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of those. I guarantee. Because the other thing is, I've grown up with men that work in the trades. Whether it's welding, whether it's carpentry, whether it's masonry, doesn't matter. The guys always work their asses off. And so I know for a fact if I went up to a foreman and I said, okay, I showed up, give me a raise, I wouldn't be working at that job. There's no way.
No.
Now, maybe in something like sales, maybe you could get away with that. But
Hmm.
there is no way in the trades you could get away with that. You'd
No.
be like, here's the door, be back in your car.
You really, you know where you parked your car? We'll mail your last check to you. Don't come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
The cops will be here to welcome you. No.
Yeah.
Here's another point. Back in the day, we would have regular times where the whole factory would get shut down, and
Mhm.
we'd have to crawl into the ductwork or all these places around the factory where it was dirty, and you had to shovel mud out of a confined space for hours and hours and hours. You would have to actually do something. Your supervisor would come by. If they caught you asleep, you were unemployed.
Wow.
All this, just you actually had to do some work. As time went by and younger people got hired, they refused to do this stuff that we took for granted. They would actually just not show up that day.
Oh my
And the company
God.
had so much invested in hiring them that they would lose a bunch of money by firing them for not being there.
I'll
So
never.
now the company is paying
Oh yeah.
contractors to come in and do all this stuff we used to have to do.
Mhm.
We would have loved to have contractors come in and do
Oh. Oh, you'll love
all the
this.
dirty
Oh,
work. Let me tell you. But
speaking of contractors, so at Andy's work, there's welders, there's machinists, there's all kinds of tradespeople, right? Well, they got behind in some of their stuff, and okay, we'll see you later, Mike Jimmy. Um, but they got behind in some of their work, and so they had a meeting and they said, okay, we're going to hire a bunch of professional welders. Excuse me, come again? What the fuck are we then? They're going to hire a bunch of professional welders. And so, of course, this goes through the shop like wildfire.
mhm.
We're not professional enough. They're going to hire professional welders to come in and do our job because we're getting behind. So then they had another meeting because I guess people were like, well, if you're going to pay them twice what you're paying us, I guess we'll quit. So, I mean, it was bad. It was like mutiny on the ship kind of thing.
Yeah, really.
So,
We'll go work for
yeah,
them and come back
right.
and you'll
That's
have to
what they were
pay us
saying. And
twice
they're
as
like,
much.
yeah, they're like, we'll hire on with them. That's fine. Um, and so then they said, then they brought them all back for another meeting and they said, no, that's not what we meant. We just had a bad choice of words. It's not that they're professional welders and you aren't. They're contract welders. And so they come in for a contracted amount of time and they leave. We don't pay them insurance. We don't pay them all the benefits you guys get. But yes, they do make more than you because they work for this other company. But on a whim, they could be in Canada. They could be in New York. They could be in San Francisco. Like anywhere that company sends them. And that's why they get paid more than you. If you'd like to work for that company, that's fine. But that's what they're going to do here. They're not taking your jobs. We aren't paying them more than you. So yeah, it was a pretty big fiasco. You pull a bunch of professional welders into a room and say, hey, we're going to hire a bunch of professional welders to do what you can't do.
What you're not
Excuse
getting
me?
done.
Yeah, which you don't have time to do, even though you're working all 3 shifts and each shift is working 12-hour days. Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that went over like a whore in church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right as long as she's married to the preacher.
Yeah, right. See? Loopholes.
Hey, I'm Baptist. I know these things.
Isn't it Catholic that does the Etch-a-Sketch? Every Sunday you get to repent.
Really. The magic reset button.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know.
Uh,
But yeah, it's definitely something in the workforce right now.
yeah, and I think that sooner or later it's going to reach a tipping point to where there's going to be a pushback against this entitled generation.
Yeah, and I'm already kind of seeing it because my girls are working. And granted, my oldest girl works at Dairy Queen. And granted, it's Dairy Queen, I get that. But the group of kids that she works with are some pretty damn good kids. And when they have one that's hired in that doesn't do as well as they do, doesn't have the work ethic they do,
Hmm.
they ostracize that one. Like, they tell the boss, they say, we don't want to work with that one because she doesn't pull her weight or he doesn't pull his weight or, you
They're
know,
slack.
right. And the boss will put them on 1 day a week until they quit because they don't really want to fire anybody. It's
Yeah.
Dairy Queen. Um, but you see that a lot, and that's like my youngest. She has a part-time job at the stable where she takes riding lessons, and the people there are just impressed with her. They're just like, I can't believe she wants to work, and she's because they asked her. They said, how many days a week would you want to work? And it's only 2 hours a day, so not a big deal. But she's mucking out stalls and she's doing some hard labor that most kids would be like, I'm not doing that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they asked her, they said, how many days a week would you want to work? And she's like, how many days do you need me?
How many days can I get away
Yeah.
with?
Are there 8 days in a week? Can I work 8 days? Like, she wants the work. And if you ask her, hey, do you want to take a week off? She's like, do I have to? And then you say, well, what are you saving all this money for? I want to buy a truck. Not, I want my parents to buy me a truck or my parents should buy me a truck. I want to buy a truck. I'm like, well, we can get you a little S10 like your sister's got and your brother's got, And she's like, no, I want a square bodied big truck. Like, oh, shit. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Same kid wants to be a mechanic. I'm like, well, you
Hey,
know,
if you're willing to develop the skills, more power to you.
right. So then the guy that runs or the guy that owns the stable with his wife also runs a trucking company. And he found out she wanted to be a mechanic and he was like, how about diesel mechanic? I'll hire you. So yeah, she's like, no, I don't think I want to be a diesel mechanic, just a mechanic. I'm like, but diesel mechanics make good money.
Yep.
So yeah,
That's
it's definitely there's a switch. And the kids are seeing it. The younger kids are seeing the middle, I'll say the middle group. They're seeing it and they're like, that's not fair. And why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just
yeah.
do the job you're supposed to do instead of complaining about it or not doing it and shoving all your work off on somebody else?
Uh-huh.
So hopefully, hopefully there's a change.
Well, it's kind of like the wave theory.
Mm-hmm.
Things are one way for a while and then they change to
Yeah.
something else, and then after a while it changes backwards a
Yeah.
bit.
It's like they don't study history. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, those of us who do study history are doomed to watch everybody else screw things
Repeat
up.
it. Yeah. 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 It does suck. It's like, don't you know how this goes? I've seen this before.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Damn.
keep telling them, and the worst thing I can possibly do to somebody in management is they come forward with this fantastic idea that's going to get them a promotion, and I just look them in the eye and I go, "Well, that didn't work the last 40 times we tried it."
Yeah. That's the town I live in. You can say something like, let's start a flower club, whatever it is, something stupid. There will inevitably be people in town that, oh, we tried that 40 years ago and it didn't work. Like 40 years ago, you had 3 people that lived in this town. Shut up. What the hell?
Well, in this case, it turned out to be a really dumb idea,
Mm-hmm.
and then they tried it again, and then they tried it again, and then they didn't change anything. They just kept trying the same thing over and over. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the
Yeah.
same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
That's what I was telling my husband. I said, shit, we go down for Hallowcon. You and Dan should not get together. That's all you'll talk about is work and stupid shit at work. Because you guys have so much to talk about.
Oh no,
Like,
we'll probably talk about how good the food is, and
oh, probably.
well, he doesn't drink a lot, so he's not going to wander around to my beer cooler or anything. So
No, no. He does drink once in a while. Like, we were out on the bike one time, and I'll never forget it. Like, we're almost home, and he pulls over at this bar that we don't normally go to. We've been there once or twice, you know. And I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I feel like a draft beer." Oh, okay. He's like, "Well, we're 10 miles from home. I feel like having a beer, but I want a draft beer." I'm like, "Oh, well, okay." So we stopped, and he had part of a draft beer. He didn't finish it. And that's like the running joke around here is that Andy can buy a 6-pack for New Year's. The next New Year's, there will still be 5 in the fridge. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
I can't do that, but
I can't either.
oh, and my mother just hates it when I say, "Well, had a hard day at work today. Came home, had a beer." She goes, "You don't need to be drinking beer." And I go, "Mama, what's all those bottles of Blue Nun and Zeller Schwarzkatz doing in your cabinet?
Mm-hmm.
How's that different?"
Yeah, that's like as us kids grew, my grandma got more and more of a Bible thumper, or became more and more of a Bible thumper, and she was always very righteous, you know, and you can't do this and you can't do that and whatever. So then we were going through family pictures one time, and we found this picture of her at the bingo hall. So we asked all the aunts and uncles, we're like, "Hey, was Grandma really at the bingo hall?" And they're like, "Oh, hell yeah, we went every week." I'm like, "Oh, when did things change?" And they're like, we don't know. It was like a gradual progression, but whatever. She used to do it all the time. But yeah, she used to say that, you know, you shouldn't gamble and you shouldn't do, you know, other things. But gambling, shit, she did it all the time, every week apparently. She went to the bingo hall. I'm like, well, look at you. Shithead.
Yeah, that all changed when somebody she absolutely hated won, and she did.
Probably. Now she's going to be a righteous Christian and you can't gamble at all. Okay.
Mm,
I don't
yeah,
know what like branch of the Christianity she follows, but man, is it strict. Woo.
and the rules change at the drop of a hat.
Oh, probably. Yeah. I never even read the Bible because I'm so sick of hearing it from her. Somebody said once, "Well, have you read the Bible?" And I said, "No, but I've heard it." I'm sure I've heard every single word that's in there.
Oh yeah, well, I can truthfully say, yeah, I've read it cover to cover several times. You want to point me to the
Hey,
exact
Chris.
page where that
Hello.
quote that you're quoting came from?
Right. No kidding. Yeah.
Hey, Chris,
Hello.
you're just in time for the end credits.
Well, I've been typing away in chat.
Yeah.
I know.
I've seen
You
it.
you and Jimmy have been burning up the chat, so
Yeah. And Jimmy's going to go to work.
yeah.
Yeah. Hypocrisy, Jimmy. Mm-hmm.
I've been so into y'all's conversation about work and everything.
Oh, my God.
Oh
It's so
Lord,
ridiculous.
it really is.
I'm only lucky in the fact that my ghostwriting and my editing pay the bills. Well, they don't pay the bills. They're getting close to paying the bills. But I have to work
They're
very, very hard.
contributing to.
They are. I have to work very, very hard at getting new clients in. And that is my weakest spot. So yeah. Yeah. If I don't, I will have to go get a job out in the icky world.
Oh,
Yeah.
that will be horrible.
I don't want to do it.
You,
I mean, I can. I don't want to.
Yeah.
you can make what you're doing work.
I can. I just, like I said, I haven't upped my game yet. So I guess
Well,
I should up
when
my
you get
game.
over this bad case of nerves about it's not happening as quickly as you want it,
Yeah, well, I don't think I'll ever get over that.
well, stress is one of those things that really robs you of the ability to do what you want to do.
does, but it's also like, for me, it's not so much stress. It's getting things done on time and still having time to then market, because like I can ghostwrite right now. Hand me something, I'll ghostwrite it. But I've already got 3 projects in front of me. So okay, those are going well. I'm getting those done, no problem. But in the meantime, I need to find 3 more ghostwriting projects to have waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
So how do I find that time? How do I juggle that so that I can go advertise and say, hey guys, I can ghostwrite for you. Give me some more stuff. Oh, but wait, I can't start on it until next month. So yeah, that's where I'm stuck.
It's kind of time management issue.
It's a little bit of it is creative issue, because like if I'm really rolling on this project, I don't want to stop and go tell somebody or cruise the ghostwriting pages to say, hey, I'm a ghostwriter, I can do that for you. Because a lot of it is you have to look for the ghostwriting stuff or the editing stuff. You have to look for that person saying, hey, I need an editor, or hey, I need a ghostwriter. Because like on Fiverr, yeah, you can put an ad up, but sometimes those are hit and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need a short story editor on Aphelion. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay anything.
Yeah. And see, that's my hiccup too. It's like I would love to jump on some of these projects that I've been offered, but they don't pay anything.
Yeah.
Like I've got a whole nother company that they pay if the book sells. I can't live on that. Sorry.
Yeah, really. I find it very hard to live on the promise of a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why if you've noticed on my Facebook page, sometimes I'll put some plants and stuff. That's my backup plan. I have a greenhouse, I have a green thumb. So I've been selling that stuff. So that's kind of like, okay, I can't go to a con this weekend, but I can go to a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's 10 minutes from my house. So
that's an even better thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the way grocery prices keep going up,
oh my
it
God,
would be a profitable thing.
Hell yeah, yeah. So that's I've been trying. I've always been really good at flowers. No matter what flower it is, I can grow it. No big deal. But veggies, on the other hand, they have become my nemesis. Like some of them I cannot grow very well. Others they take off like weeds.
Yep, I have got to get off my ass and put our greenhouse together. It's been sitting on a pallet out in the driveway for over a year now. When we got it, it was too cold.
Yeah.
All 2 weeks of spring, it rained. And then it was 100-degree summer for 18 months. And then it was too damn cold again overnight.
Yep.
Fall lasted about 6 hours one day.
That's Illinois. Yeah. Wait a second, it'll change.
It's Georgia too, and with a 95% humidity we've got down here, any outdoor labor is torturous to say the least.
And I wouldn't doubt it.
So I've got to unpack that thing and put it together, and then there's so much other stuff I've got to do around the house, for the house, and I'm going, yeah, but my publisher wants this manuscript finished. Like July of last year. So
that's the anxiety and stress from time constraints.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky that he hasn't put me on a deadline, but then sometimes I kind of wish I had one so I could go, wait, I've got to do this right now. I can't take time off. I've got to do this. Then I can go mow the yard or whatever.
Yeah. Right. There's not enough hours in the day, especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough in the rest of the year, but summertime, I mean, literally, there's more stuff that needs to be done and you want to do than you can get done.
Well,
Yep.
the only reason we went for the greenhouse is because the last year that we had a garden, the bugs ate everything but one pepper plant.
Yep.
Every single thing. And seven dust did not slow them down.
Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's bad.
Yeah. These are some mutant bugs here.
Oh yeah. But they adapt to where that's why they keep having to re-up the and change up the pesticide formulas.
Oh, hell yeah. Every year there's something different.
I
Yep.
mean, antibiotics don't react, work
That's,
as well as they once did because number one, they've been overprescribed and people have got
oh, hell
bodies
yeah.
gotten used to them.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's with anything. If you take it in abundance, your body gets used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the other thing. Antibiotics don't do anything against viruses.
No.
Hmm.
Two different
No.
organisms.
Right.
And they keep people don't think things through. I mean, they'll get an idea in their head and they won't think it through. And
Mhm.
Well, yeah, because social media thinks for them. And if they
Well,
see a meme, that must be true.
it's not even social media. I see it in people that don't do social media.
yeah,
Um, oh Lord, listen to this dumb thing. My company has created its own version of Twitter that is just internal for the company.
So, like an intranet?
Well, it's like I said, it's a multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation, but it's like they want their people to stay off of Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. So, oh, well, let's just give them something to play on. And I'm going, no, why don't you make them do their damn job?
No kidding.
exactly.
Yeah. Just stop with the social media already.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I get these emails every day. I might get 5 or 6 a day, and it's somebody posting an inspirational quote that's not really inspirational. It's just buzzwords strung together in a string. And then I read some official post by some executive in the corporation, and I go, "Where's my buzzword bingo card? I could, before the first paragraph's out, I could win the game here."
Hey, come here. Get up here.
And so many adverbs being verbed.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, you take something that's supposed to be describing an action and turn it into the action itself.
Yeah. English.
No, it's not English,
I
believe me.
know. People butcher it so horribly.
They think it is,
Yeah.
but all it is going, do y'all realize how ignorant this string of nonsense words makes you sound?
I used to, when I worked at the company that we repoed furniture, we also sold furniture. But it was a rent here, buy here, rent here sort of place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We were in a not so great neighborhood. You know what I mean? I will never forget the lady that asked me a question. The word is ask, not axed.
Mm-hmm.
You axe a piece of wood. You might axe someone if they got fired, but you don't axe a question.
Yeah, but I've run into that dialect a
I
lot.
know, and I'm just like, I know it's a dialect. I know that that's the way your people talk, but it's not correct English, and it makes my eye twitch. See, my eye is twitching now.
Oh,
Like,
it's a good
it's
thing.
not even the word.
It's good. It's a good thing
It's
you don't have to listen to my grandfather.
or any of my older relatives up in East Tennessee.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just.
it's this. There is no H in the word it.
No, not
It
usually.
doesn't. It does not start with an H. Um, and I can
Idea
go.
doesn't have an R at the end of it.
Wash rag does not have an R in the middle either.
Oh God.
Um, oh, we could go on and on and on and on, but it
Nope.
is the dialect, and it's just
And against is spelled AGIN.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Chair is cheer. And fire is far.
Far, yeah. But the people that I was, it wasn't even like hillbilly talk. I got like I'm in it. I live it. But this was more like, what do I want to say? Urban speak.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Yeah. And they say words that don't exist, or they use really big words thinking they know what they are in the wrong context.
Yes.
And you go to correct them, and they're like, thinking that you slapped them. It's like, no, I just corrected your word. That word doesn't mean what you think it means. Yeah, it do. No, it doesn't.
I
Yeah,
heard
don't you,
that.
don't you love it when they use Prince abbreviations and stuff?
Yeah.
Like he spelled "I would die for you," and then he.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, that's not how that goes. That's not how any of this goes.
Nope. But that's
Oh,
funny. Those are
yeah.
funny commercials.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Jimmy. It's not ignorance. It is dialect. They know what they're trying to say.
Yes, I will be a grammar Nazi in that respect. I will. Dang it, because that is not how those words go together.
She is a writer at heart. Her true
Yes.
self must be expressed.
Yes. Yes. What is that? Autocorrect? I am autocorrect. But
You're not
autocorrect,
autocorrect
it
on
is
my phone.
never duck it. It is never duck it
No,
ever.
no. I very seldom ever tell anybody to go and duck themselves.
Yeah, I don't
It,
know. There will be no ducking.
yeah, unless there's beam overhead that's
Yeah, really.
coming at you. Um, yeah, we have met the enemy, and it is autocorrect and predictive text.
Oh
Oh
God,
yeah.
predictive text. Oh my God, I got
I
my new
I
phone and
have
it had that
texted
on
my wife
there.
so many times only to find out the phone chose a different word from the one I typed in. I'm
Yep.
going, look, if I misspell something, let me misspell it. If I
Yeah.
didn't misspell it, send her what I wrote. Okay.
Or when I'm texting my husband and I'm trying to text, the duck word, and it wants to make it duck. I'm like, no, no, it's not it. There's all kinds of words that it wants to change, and it's just like, it's not the word. And so I go back and I try and change it, and it does it again. And then I change it, and it does it again. So finally, I figured out how to make your phone not do that. There's a setting. It's the most glorious thing ever.
Turns
Nice.
off autocorrect.
And
Come
predictive
here.
text. I hate that stuff.
Come here.
Sometimes I can find predictive text useful because it has gotten used to what I would normally say.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't want to say something that I would normally say and I want to say something novel, it gets in the way.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
good morning, Jimmy, and have a good day at work.
Yep.
Yep.
Uh,
See you
folks,
later.
it's
We've
after
been
1
here
a.m.
2 hours.
Yes, we has. And I thought I was going to do a 10-minute show by myself until Michaela showed up and made it interesting. And Chris
Hey, I
showed up and
try.
made it even more.
I do what I
Yeah.
can
Yes,
because now
well,
I have to go back to typing.
It's always fun to talk with you,
Yep.
and I'm definitely glad I got to join the show. I was late in being able to to watch earlier, and like, oh, damn, Michaela's both
Yeah.
on here.
Hey, we are still up like the crazy people.
Any time spent talking to Michaela is time well spent.
You're so
Of course.
sweet.
Well,
You
no,
guys are so
I'm
sweet.
correct.
He's
That's what
being
I am.
honest
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
and truthful.
I like it. I'll take it.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
And happy late St. Patrick's Day to you both.
Oh yeah. Look at you wearing your green. You overachiever.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
All right, take care.
good night. Good night, Chris.
Good night, Dan. Have a good tomorrow.
I'm going to try. I'm overloaded.
I
Well,
wish you the best of luck.
let's get to the story so I can go to bed.
All right, take care. Bye.
Good night.